or from the research team, and they are doing some kind of testing. Okay, or what it can be happening is that there's a true positive, and maybe the attacker, uh, maybe the user is itself an attacker, and user is trying to do web pen testing attack. Okay, where they are trying to figure out, where they're kind of trying to utilize recon activity. Or let's say there's a malware in the system, malware in the user system. Okay, and then they are trying to kind of, what do you say, they're trying to the malware is itself trying to do some kind of recon activity on the internal websites. Okay, so thing is that we can kind of figure out the recon activity. The one of the way is definitely kind of setting up an alert, which actually alert us when there's high volume of requests from, let's say, one of the users. Okay, so that is one of the way to kind of detect the recon activity. The other way to do that is actually another method is to monitor the rate at which a record requests are coming from the internet. Okay, so from the internet, so that is one thing. This is actually, let's say, the one that I showcase is like internal. Okay, so something like some malicious thing happening internally in the company network. The other thing is that from the internet, let's say there are multiple DNS query coming in. Okay, DNS query coming in. So what we can do is we can kind of set up an alert on that. So let's say there's an attacker and who is trying to find out the subdomains of google.com, where they are kind of figuring out, let's say google.com, they have the base domain, and what they are trying to do is they are trying to find out other subdomains like mail.google.com, or what all other subdomains are, like are there like mail.google.com, videosgoogle.com, or photosgoogle.com. So what the attacker will do is that they will kind of do a dictionary type of attack, and they will try to kind of write a script which will automatically kind of go through this dictionary and try to figure out, okay, are there any subdomains like research.google.com, and what's this IP address. So what we will be seeing at our end, we will be seeing that we are receiving lot of DNS queries. Okay, so rather than in normal fashion, what we would see is that the DNS queries are coming for, let's say, google.com, or let's say mail.google.com in normal scenario. And let's say the threshold value is like, let's say 50 DNS requests in let's say 1 minute, for an example, in 1 minute. Okay, 50 requests in 1 minute. And the thing is that what's happening over here is that external IP addresses are making a DNS query to get the IP address of google.com or mail.google.com. Okay, but what would happen in this scenario where the attacker is trying to kind of do a dictionary attack and kind of try to find out all the possible subdomains, what we will see is that there's a huge DNS request coming from the internet, and what we will also see is that there are a lot of websites which are like not valid. Okay, yeah, go on.
Sorry to interrupt you. I have a question here.
Yes, please.
For example, if our website is hosted on maybe GoDaddy or Cloudflare, so if attacker is trying to and our DNS server is also located there or on some other hosting. So what I mean to say is, so will we be getting logs on the SIM tool because that is hosted on another platform? So at that time, how will we be monitoring?
Oh yeah. So one thing is that if the website is self hosted on, let's say, GoDaddy and not on your internal network, so in that case, what you can do is that I'm not pretty sure, but maybe if you have some kind of subscription with Google.com, with some kind of subscription with GoDaddy, so one of the thing can be done is rather than like, I understand like there won't be any even a need for I think, subscription, the website, the server that is running on GoDaddy, since you already have control, so what you can do is that definitely you can set up some kind of a logging in that server, let's say the DNS logging thing. And so what you do is that whoever does a DNS request, what you do is that you have set up some kind of a script, or you have enabled the DNS logging and that server. And that server, what it is doing is that it is recording all the DNS logs, DNS query that has been made to that domain, to the domains. Okay. So let's say you have an authoritative DNS server over here. And so one of the thing is that maybe you can have some kind of subscription with GoDaddy. I'm not pretty sure like if they would kind of share that. But if it is there, what they can do is that you can fetch those kind of logs from GoDaddy. Okay. And what you can do is that you can write some kind of an API, which runs on C, which runs on your same tool. And what it does is like it fetches the DNS log from GoDaddy at, let's say, at every like few intervals, like let's say at every 1 minute. Okay. And it stores that in the central repo. Okay. So I think that's one of the way which you can utilize. So you need to kind of figure out like if GoDaddy provides that. Or the other easy way is that the name server, if you have hold of that name server, so definitely all the DNS requests coming in to that name server, you can just turn on the logging and get all the DNS logs that has been made, that all the DNS query that has been made, and just try to kind of fetch that out and maybe ingest that to the same tools that you have internally on your company, and do all the stuff, do all the alerting mechanism on that same tools. Okay. So I think that's one of the possible way by which you can do that. And it shouldn't be that hard. Maybe you can just figure out if like hosting provider like GoDaddy or all, does they provide this kind of feature? Or I hope maybe they would have do that. And if not, and even if they don't do that, what you can do is that you will definitely come up with certain scenario where even though the GoDaddy doesn't do that by default, and if you have certain kind of incident, so what you can do is that you can, as a security professional, you can just ask your legal team. You can ask your legal team to drop an email to GoDaddy, okay, to hand over the DNS logs. Okay, to hand over the DNS logs, and this might work. And what will happen is that once the GoDaddy company receive that legal request, okay, and they might, and let's say it has approval of the, let's say the police organization or the law enforcement organization, they will actually hand over the DNS log in that case. And that's where you can kind of run your query. Okay. So in normal scenario, even what I have seen is that like if there are, like, let's say there are any malicious domains which has been kind of hosted on GoDaddy, and if it has the similar name of your as your own company, legal, you can just opt for the legal team and ask the GoDaddy to kind of take it on their website or share certain logs with you, and they will kind of entertain those kind of requests in most of the scenario. Okay, so that is how you can kind of go forward and achieve those kind of objectives. Okay, so I hope I answered your question. Okay, so any other query or any other clarification on this part? Okay, so if not, let's continue our discussion on this part. So the other thing which I was telling is that you might receive huge DNS requests coming out from the internet, and in that, the thing is that let's say definitely if someone is trying to kind of brute force, what will happen is that you will also see that there are a lot of websites DNS query that is coming into your servers, where maybe let's say you get something like movies.google.com, and you know that okay, that you don't have any subdomains like movie.google.com. So definitely this is something where there is a malicious user who is trying to kind of what they are trying to do is they are trying to kind of do a recon activity. And what you can do is that using those kind of alerts, you can kind of set up certain kind of activity, like let's say block the IP address, for an example. Okay, block the IP address. Or rather than blocking the IP address, you just try to figure out what the location is and what their intention is. So let's say you don't block that IP address.